Dashka and Efes come good. Maccabi and Gala are ready to play spoiler. And we got a week off for EuroLeague, but not for us. We look ahead, so to speak. It's all ahead of us on Sweet 16. Tune in.
Hello and welcome to the Bar Mitzvah episode of Sweet 16, an open look on EuroLeague basketball. Yes, it's lucky number 13. And as we say, there's this saying that goes, it's time to separate the men from the boys. And in a way, this is exactly what we're expecting to happen in the next few weeks of the regular season as it comes rapidly to an end. First, let's say hi to the greatest co-host that I could have asked for, both Aris and Emmett. Hi, guys.
Greetings from Dublin, where for no reason at all I'm showing off my love for the Oregon State Beavers tonight.
And hello from Athens, where everybody is waiting this week, not only the Cup finals all around Europe, but also the All-Star game because of Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Well, Emmett, Aris, we're in for a treat, so to say, in this great episode ahead of us, simply for the action we've had. There was some games that delivered a surprise, or at least tried to, but kind of fell up short. Emmett, what exactly are we looking at this Bar Mitzvah episode?
Well, obviously we got to talk about the race for 8th. It's Dashka and Efes both getting the results when they need to get them. And now they've got a week off where they've got to, start thinking about how they're going to keep getting those results. We'll also look at sort of the big impact plays in Europe last week. And as hinted at in the intro, the sort of spoiler roles that some of the teams out of playoff contention are starting to play. And then even though it's a cup weekend, it's a week off for the EuroLeague teams, we're still going to look another week ahead and look at the games that are coming up that week, what will be standing out as crucial games after the National Cup campaigns are over. But of course, we're beginning as ever with the creatively named, in terms of its honesty, 4-minute warning. 4 minutes to get through all the action that just happened in EuroLeague. It's the 4-minute warning. And as ever, the 4-minute warning isn't quite 4 minutes, but, it's that time of season where there's too much to talk about, folks. So maybe let's call it the 4x4 minute warning in this case. Well, probably most important result of the week in terms of the overall standings, particularly what was coming after, was Friday's win for Dashka over Fenerbahce. Now, Fener, we've seen them run off a few wins, a few important ones as well over serious opponents, but we've also seen them not be quite the Fener we know. We've had a couple of games, obviously, where they showed what they can do, but in the last 3 of those wins, you were kind of going, they're not all there yet. Dashka and David Blatt obviously sensed that, went for the kill. It was very Dashka basketball, I thought. I'm obviously going to ask guys for their views in a second, but they played the game they're good at. They just looked to restrict Fener, let their own guys do their own thing, which is incredibly basic basketball in terms of describing what Dashka did to beat Fener. But I think they sort of felt that Fener were there for the taking if they could frustrate them, particularly obviously on the offensive end for Fener. And, basically, guys, it worked. Aris, what did you make of that game?
I do believe that it was a very interesting game because the fact is that Darüşşafaka is one of the very few teams that have beaten twice Fenerbahce. And this is not a small feat. It's very interesting to see that there are some teams that simply got the number of certain opponents. You can see that the same applies to Olympiacos and Baskonia, but you didn't really expect that Fenerbahce will have such an issues with Darüşşafaka, even though every time a duel between Zeljko Obradovic and Coach Blatt can be a real treat and a very interesting matchup. On the other hand, I kind of disagree on the matter of how important was all those results, because there is just one simple question at this point. The question is who can catch the playoff train. I don't believe that we will see the final standings in terms of the playoffs matchup being decided earlier than the 5 last rounds. So the question is who will be left behind. In that context, of course, the win of Darüşşafaka was important, but for Darüşşafaka itself, because it keeps them tied in the 8th place with Anadolu Efes. Behind them, Zalgiris is 2 wins, is trailing by 2 wins. Brose Bamberg is trailing by 8. Barcelona and Maccabi also are 3 wins behind the line. of the tie in the 8th place. So this is the first sub-story that will be decided in the upcoming weeks. Who will miss for good the playoff train? Already Galatasaray, Unix Kazan, and of course Milan, despite having waken up during the last 3 weeks, are almost out. So the question now remains, who will be left behind? I believe that this is the key question, and this is the success of the new format of EuroLeague, because until now you can't say for sure who will be left behind.
First, I agree, but we gotta look back at that game and say that Emmett kind of said that it was a Dachka kind of basketball, and in that way for Coach Blad to manage to impose, Dachka style game was great. But for me, like looking more into that game, it was again seeing the young Ante Žižić doing, his thing, pretty much dominating. And we kind of asked ourselves during previous episodes, what would happen, in case of someone trying to bully him out of outside the paint and in general. And we saw that, he kind of coped with it, and he did his thing, 14 points, 10 rebounds. And you know what, right now, the thing is looking head-to-head with both Anadolu and Darüşşafaka, that both teams have like the the best chances from the rest of the teams to get the number 8 playoff spot. And with them and Anadolu, it's like the first team to blink first is going to stay out. Obviously, we saw Anadolu coming back from a 14-point deficit, I think it was. And right now, they managed to get the win in spite of what happened. They got the job done. But looking ahead, what did you guys see from that game? Because for me, as we've mentioned earlier, and as we will probably discuss this angle, especially for the fact that these two teams go, at least now, they go hand in hand. But first, Emmett, your thoughts on that game of Anadolu managing to overcome the attempt spoiler by Milan?
Well, it was very much, if Efes are going to win games down the stretch, I think we're going to see more games like this than not necessarily quite as dramatic as Milano putting up 54 points in the first half and Efes just looking lost at sea for most of that period. But definitely it's a case of Efes not having a consistent 40 minutes, but somehow, some way, finding a way to win, because they got the holy heck beaten out of them for the first 10 minutes of that game. Managed to live with Milanos through the second quarter and what turned into a bit of an offensive shootout for that part. And then they actually got their defense to show up in the second half and somehow win the game. So, strange Efes performance. Type of game, like, I'm used to expecting Efes to be in a hot mess. I would not be surprised if we see at least in the remaining, I think it's 8 games, 4 or 5 more games of a similar nature with Efes. Maybe not quite as big a hole, but definitely quite as crazy. Aris, I suppose, your take on this game?
Well, I'm not exactly surprised, but what I really have to say is that Anadolu Efes was one of the teams that I was expecting before the start of the season to be competing even for the top 4. I have the chance to see them in the preparation games, especially in the Crete tournament, and they were simply amazing. And on paper, they are one of the most athletic teams out there. So it's really a question why they have not performed yet at the top level in EuroLeague, because on the other hand you have seen that in their domestic league they are on top, and they are top sharing the first place with Fenerbahce. So the way they did the comeback was pretty much amazing, and it shows the resilience of this team, but also the kind of talent that it's hidden behind. I don't know exactly why. What? One of the most decorated players of that team and the most experienced at this point told me before the season that we are trying to be like Olympiacos. The fact that they completed a comeback win even against Milano, which at this point has not real playoff ambitions, but it's still a very talented team. Maybe it's a sign that they are moving to the right direction. With the EuroLeague game getting more and more physical and athletic, and speed being one of the key in order to prevail, I expect Anadolu Efes to be, if not the surprise of the playoffs, one of the very, very hard opponents for the teams that have the home court advantage. Because at this point, the truth is that Anadolu Efes has not even locked its place in the playoffs. But the way they are playing, it's sloppy. That's the best way to describe it. You see two different teams in its not half, in its quarter, and if they somehow manage to get consistent, then they will be amazing. I have seen them being consistent, of course, in the preseason, and they were amazing. So you never know. They still have time to be consistent.
I suppose the other game, Aris, we've got to ask you about is the, I suppose, big stand towards the end in order to close it out. But serious test really for Olympiacos at home to Zalgiris. Like, what was it sort of about that game that sort of, you know, stood out to you? Like, because Zalgiris look like they clearly think they can still make the playoffs based on that performance and nothing else.
Yes, Zalgiris is constantly improving, but what they really lack is the depth and the experience. And in order to make it to the playoffs, they need this kind of advantages. I believe that if Zalgiris manages to keep at least the core of this team intact, because they are constantly changing key players, foreign players who they can't keep after the one good season, maybe something special will be created. But at this point, you have it was a battle where you could see which was the real experienced and quality team, and which was the team that is still under construction. Of course, the main question for Zalgiris is if they can keep for next year Kevin Pangos and Leo Westerman. The French and the Canadian having a kind of low-key but great seasons. They don't put up very flashy numbers, but under Sarunas Jasikevicius they are really maturing into the point guards that everyone is expecting from them to be. And with the lack of point guards in EuroLeague, I believe that the question for Zalgiris already will be if they can keep those kind of players. Speaking for the moment, speaking for the season, you can get cross Zalgiris out of the playoffs, but at 2 wins distance for the 8th position, in which 2 teams are tied and 2 teams with a roster which is far more deep and has more quality, Darüşşafaka and Anadolu Efes. I don't see how at this point Zalgiris can really catch the playoffs. They give a valiant effort during the season. I didn't believe that they could get so many wins. Sarunas Jasikevicius is proving that he's ready to be a head coach in the highest level, but you can say also that they are kind of a surprise team because the expectations were really low. If you compare, for example, Zalgiris with Černa Zvezda, and the 2 teams are pretty similar in every aspect, Černa Zvezda is the team that has really so far turned heads and got miracle results. Zalgiris is a team that is overachieving, that it's building something good, but are they yet playoff material? I'm not convinced yet about that.
Yeah, I gotta agree on this one. I mean, they don't seem at this moment as a playoff material, but at the same time, I cannot exclude them simply for the fact that, you know, you might say that they are overachieving, but simply having Sharas like as your head coach, you know, we saw them play versus Olympiacos, and I think first and foremost, I think that if I would have to sum up this game in one sentence, it would have been something like so close yet so far. Because Žalgiris, they looked good for like throughout the game for a lot of minutes. At the end of the day, like Ari said, it was a matter of depth mostly, because they looked Olympiacos, in their eyes. They had a great stare down, but eventually, it was not enough. It was a beautiful game to watch. I enjoyed it, but at the same time, they are resilient. They are fighters, and we're talking about a team that managed to beat both Darüşşafaka and Anadolu. So, you know what? Let's just wait, because one unexpected loss or two, and we've got eight games left. So, everything's on the table. It's harder for them, obviously. It's not, they are not self-dependent, but it is what it is. And just with saying that, I think this is the best time to go to the Scouts Notebook.
And now it's time for the Scouts Notebook, where we look back at key performances during the week in EuroLeague to see who stood out and why.
Last Thursday night, we got a glimpse of what Maccabi's season could have been should Quincy Miller would have been fully fit to begin with from the first tip-off of the season, but things were not that good for Maccabi looking from that point of view. But I think that, and maybe you'll both agree, guys, first of all, his role within that win versus Baskonia. I know this game was not important for Maccabi as it was for the team from Vitoria. They just couldn't allow themselves to lose that game, or any game for that matter, especially when the playoff fight is getting that much more intense. And right now, what Quincy gave us is a glimpse, like I said, to the future, not necessarily for the remainder of this season, because everyone knew, that Maccabi were not expecting him to come back, and right now he's not fully fit again. But just the energies, the spacing, his entire, simply for the fact that he gets everyone going on the court. Like Ari said a few episodes back, his character is amazing, great character, very positive thinking kind of guy. And that is something that Maccabi simply needs. It's a necessity. But how did you see it, Emmett?
Yeah, well, I think you've pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Like Miller, even just from his behaviour on the court, he's the type of guy that people like in a locker room. And when you can throw in what he's actually able to deliver on the court, it doubles up on that in many respects. He's got the right attitude towards the game, like the right kind of intelligence. I know it sounds a weird way of phrasing, but as in, when he's thinking, he's not just thinking about how am I going to, get the job done. It's more how am I going to make space here, or how am I going to, find a different way to contribute, even if I'm not particularly part of this possession. And I think that's a big thing with Quincy. He's able to get the job done when he needs to, but he's also able to, he knows when to defer, essentially. He knows he's always not going to be the first option. And there aren't enough guys in that Maccabi roster who I think who are willing to accept that role still. But when Miller is able to go out there and do that, he suddenly makes a lot of them more valuable, essentially. So the performance obviously crucial to the victory. You're darn right there, Moshe. Just avoided swearing, I suppose. Is damn swearing? Who knows? It's unfortunate that his health is again an issue. But I suppose the curious thing with this one is, suddenly Maccabi are mathematically still alive, I suppose, Aris?
If I'm not mistaken, everyone is still alive, but this doesn't mean much in the big picture, because the fact is that there is a gap again between the playoffs and the rest of the teams, the top 8 and the rest of the teams. So I don't see how this gap is going to be bridged anytime soon, because on the side of the playoffs we have 9 teams at this point because of the tie between Anadolu Efes and Darüşşafaka. So things are going to get really tough for the rest of the 7 teams that are trying to play not only for their pride but also for their last mathematical chances. What's really interesting is the reaction of Andrew Gardlock. I believe that he may after all emerge as the leader of this Maccabi team after everything that happened, all the faces that have changed, all the coaches, and he's more mature than ever. of course, he's not the guy that has the playmaking skills to create for all the others, and this is not his game. It will be foolish of any team to get a player who can score like him and try to turn him into a point guard. But at this point, Maccabi has to get everything that it's still working and it's still going, and in a team that it's still a mess. Unfortunately for Maccabi fans, Gaudlog is the guy who can still get things going, and he proved it against a very well-trained and resilient unit like Baskonia. Of course, with all that being said, Baskonia practically suicided in the last possession. This was a game that at least Baskonia had a very good chance to win, having the ball in the last possession, and they choked. They didn't even shoot the ball on time. So this is more than anything else a moral boost for Maccabi at this point. And I don't know if they are already thinking about next season, if they consider that getting the Israeli league can save their season. But I believe that the story at this
it's not only good luck. I think that the two players that they simply gotta have for next season is Andrew Goodluck and Quincy Miller. They should build a team, like if we're talking foreign players, they should build a team around these two guys, obviously consulting with the coach for the 2017-2018 season. And again, these two players are so crucial, and with the reality that we're facing, having guys like Goodluck and Miller with their attributes, that is amazing, and I'm guessing that every team would have wanted that. And from that, we're gonna move on for I guess a panel favorite in a way. Is mine anyway. My one of my favorite players in the competition, as well as I can guess Aris and Emmett. Aris, we saw Printezis again. We cannot stay. I don't want to say no. It's just seeing him. It's so exciting time after time. When Olympiacos needs him, he's there. When they need a big bucket, he gets it, and he has the mentality of a winner.
Well, I'm biased on this, and I like it, because Printezis is one of those rare cases of players who not only improve by time, but they really got loose and unlocked all their potential after a great success. I believe that in the past something like this happened with Diamantidis when he made the shot that sent in 2005 the Greek national team in the final of the Eurobasket, when everyone was still believing that Diamantidis was not really a shooter, and since then he made a ton of big shots. Printezis made the shot in Istanbul, and after that what could have been the peak of his career, that shot became the platform for him to emerge as the best power forward in Europe. He has everything. He is resilient. He has played injured. He is one of the very few players left, I believe, in world basketball, not only in Europe, who can play this well in the low post. Low post game is a lost art for big men all around the world. The trend is now to get in the perimeter and shoot threes, and Printezis can also do that, but he can play with his back on the basket. He can finish with both his hands, and while most players have a game face, while most superstars are locked in the target, Printezis can be focused, and on the same time he can be extremely relaxed. I don't think that there are many top level athletes who can have this kind of combination, and this is really admirable. It's this proves how much he has matured and how much self-confidence he has. He's not afraid to fail, and that's why he has succeeded big in any possible way, in any possible metric. And we will still see them for at least a couple of years, but the combo of Spanoulis and Printezis have already a special spot in the lore of European basketball. Of course, this goes out of the question for the lore of Greek basketball.
Yeah, and the only thing I can add to that is basically agreeing with Aris. Like, what's wonderful about Printezis is he can be finesse and he can be a brawler in terms of what he does on the inside. Like, there is that just all-round game to him as a power forward. And, well, another big game, of course, against Zalgiris. Just, you know, double-double, as you do. Have a bit of crack there. When the team needs it most, of course, as well. Like, when this guy retires, and he's only 31, there's quite a few years yet, it's going to be a heck of a highlight reel. That's pretty much all I've got to add on Georgios Printezis, Moshe even.
You know, I got to say, it amazes me because, you know, in Israel, they keep talking of a power forward that had pretty much the same attributes. He was a winner, he was a brawler, and he had such finesse with his shot. Obviously, I'm talking about David Blue, which is, I think, arguably one of the best, or maybe one of the most underrated of the competition in a way. But we're not doing any more great guys who play the game, and we just kind of gave our biased opinion on Printezis because how can you not like this guy? But from now on, I think it's time to, you know, from last episode of talking about, you know, confessions of the jinxed minds, let's just really have an open conversation within the coach's playbook on all the spoilers.
The coach's playbook, where we look at the strategies that worked and that need to work in the coming weeks in EuroLeague. Well, last time I was confessing about my cursing of Zvezda. The curse seems to be broken because I picked Zvezda to lose last week, and they did lose, so I'm going to say you guys don't have to blame anything on me anymore. So instead, the three teams who really look capable of playing with spoilers, well, they're the three teams you'd expect. You know, Maccabi, EA7 and Gala you expected because, well, for most of the season they've not been doing a lot. Now all of a sudden they're able to reel off the few W's, like Milano, who had one of the most inexplicably bad halves of basketball I've seen in my life against Sheska a few weeks ago, now look like a team who can hang with quite a lot of outfits. Gala can get W's. Maccabi, well, we saw what happened with them against Baskonia just last week. So you got three sides here who are capable of getting wins. And it's kind of funny in that Unix Kazan, who everybody had printed as Captain Spoiler, like, they're still getting the odd result here and there, but, like, no more than those three are right now when we're hitting that sort of business end of the season. Like, we're not seeing, well, it is plausible mathematically, yada yada, that anyone can still make the playoffs, but the three teams there, Maccabi, Milano, and Gala, no one's really expecting them in the postseason at this stage. But at the same time, none of them's looking the guaranteed W they should look at the run-in, which I suppose, Aris, that's probably good for the league, that these sides whose seasons look to be not doing so well, from one way of putting it, still seem to be serious challenges, at least at this point in the season.
I believe that when the new format was decided, no one in their wildest dream believed that we will get to the third part of the regular season and have competitive games all over Europe. It's amazing how sometimes the universe complies with your wishes, and that was the EuroLeague wishes, and it came true. Because you know, it's also interesting the fact that the three teams that are in real trouble, and I speak mainly about Galatasaray, Milano, and Maccabi Tel Aviv, have a very solid fan base, so they can approach any game, especially at home, without the motive to fight and get a win, even just for their pride. And considering also that Maccabi Tel Aviv is on the top of the Israeli league, Milan is on the top of the Lega Basket, and Galatasaray is among the contenders in the BCL, they also have to prove that they belong to the EuroLeague, and they are still the teams to beat in their domestic competitions. So they will not just give up the fight. And fortunately, at this point, we haven't seen any team, any of those teams, that didn't want for any kind of reason, maybe to rest some of their players or give up in a EuroLeague game or try to give minutes in their second unit. And this is also a testament in what EuroLeague games means for those teams.
You know, the thing that baffles me the most is maybe the fact that, you know, you see some coaches during their locker room speech before the game, and it's like they're rubbing their hands thinking, you know, who are we gonna ruin for next? Which kind of, you know, it's kind of funny just imagining that, even though it's not true, obviously. It's kind of fun because every team fights for his life, for their life. The fact that we're in the 22nd game and teams are still alive is amazing. And that is, again, as we've said throughout this episode, kudos for EuroLeague. That is amazing. And you know what? Before moving on to another part, we gotta acknowledge that maybe, you know, it was a proper coach's decision use for Galatasaray anymore to use Alex Tyus. And right now, I think a big part of their surge is, you know, it has to be with Alex, because he's a commodity that everyone wants. We're talking about a shot blocker with a great timing. We're talking a very strong, springy kind of guy with a very strong upper body. And I think he's going to become one of the most wanted free agents, I think, next season.
Yeah, with Alex Tyus, obviously, he's doing everything to build up his stock into the future. And speaking of the future, in a wonderfully awkward segue, I suppose, we're looking, you know, a week ahead, because of course it is, as we said earlier, Cups week. So instead of the games of the week, it's the games of next week.
The past is in the past. What's done is done. It's time to look forward. Here's our games of the week.
It seems that not that long ago, even though it's been some time since then, obviously, we've seen Dachka kind of beat Real Madrid. And right there and then we thought to ourselves, well, you know, Darüşşafaka managed to beat a few good teams. You know, among them we saw Madrid, obviously, and Cheska. But right now, the game is going to be played in the Palacio de Deportes, or the Barclays Center. Well, you know, we're in for a great game. I don't think that it's going to go that easy for Darüşşafaka, though the mentality they would have to come with is we're fighting for our lives. We're fighting for survival. You know, just to make a good case, a good argument for why they might have a chance to continue to play in the EuroLeague next season. Yes, this is a consideration. We're expecting, obviously, a very athletic game, high tempo, but maybe Coach Blatt is going to try and slow things down, especially for Madrid, a team that loves to run, where, you know, I think that one of his targets would have to be, you know, Doncic, because Doncic had played such a big role in a lot of these teams, you know, with a lot of the Blancos wins. Wouldn't you agree, Aris?
Yes, I do agree, and at this point, the real question is how Madrid will finish the stretch of the regular season. And in no way the top spot is locked. I believe that we all agree on that, and it's still easy to slide and get even in the fifth or sixth position, no matter how high you are at this point. So I believe that all the pressure of the world now it's on the shoulders of Real Madrid, and it will be interesting to see how Madrid will react, especially considering the fact that their best creator is a guy 17 years old. Luka Doncic is taking the basketball world by storm. He's amazing. But what you can say, if you like to make a kind of negative comment about Real Madrid, not about Doncic, I don't think that any negative comment can be made about him, is that the way Doncic play proves that there's simply no other capable playmaker in Lasso's team. Doncic make everyone look better, and he makes the offense of Real Madrid click. And I'm not so sure that Real Madrid was expecting from him to deliver that much. Of course, they knew that Doncic was going to be even a starter or probably their main one of their main solution in the point guard position, because when they lost Sergio Rodriguez, they didn't replace him. They just left the spot open in order for Doncic to emerge. But I don't see any other player capable to create that much and in the way that Doncic creates for the rest of his team. And that may be the key for the whole defensive scheme of Darussafaka. Of course, the Whites are a great shooting team. If they get going, nobody can really stop them because of their long range abilities. But if they don't, and if Blood somehow with his matchup zones make this a slow-paced game, then it will be a real test for Madrid and for Doncic. The good news is that so far Doncic has aced all the tests that everyone has tried to put him on. So it will be really interesting.
Well, yeah, Doncic, obviously an extraordinary player, and what I've been saying about him for quite a while is he's 17. Surely you're going to see a point where suddenly he eventually looks like a 17-year-old, and maybe this is the game because it's coming off the back of that Copa del Rey campaign. The marathon of sprints, it's 3 games in either 3 or 4 days, depending on how your draw breaks down. And maybe, just maybe, we'll finally see that brief moment in the season where Luka Doncic looks as young as he is. I've been wrong every time I've predicted that so far, so I'm not exactly confident. Dashka, tough game. It's a winnable game, but yeah, it's not going to be straightforward.
Oh, for sure, but I want to add something first. One of the questions that really, I don't want to say disturbs me, but really gets me intrigued is, for how long can we keep Doncic in Europe? And, talking much closer in terms of schedule, who's going to, Jeffrey Tyler, who is he going to destroy in defense? But that's what gets me interesting right now. Let's talk about, Anadolu, Baskonia. Last times these two teams met, it ended with a single-point margin in favor of Baskonia, that right now are in a slippery slope. The question is, are they able to stop that? They're simply run, not up that hill, but running down that hill. Can they stop this problem? And if so, they're kind of expecting a fight in Istanbul. To be honest, a very athletic team versus a team that was till a few games ago, I would say, very fun to watch. They were playing, and I'm referring to Baskonia, they were playing very fluent for starters. They were very efficient in a lot of positions, and somehow, the fact that Toko Shengelia is not 100% healthy is even worse for them, because obviously he's proven to be the glue of that team. He got all the guys together. He's a fighter, he's a brawler, and he's exactly what Baskonia are missing right now, I would say. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, you look at Baskonia's situation here, and this game has a real potential to be a hot mess unless Baskonia get healthy. Shengelia, obviously, there's a question there. And I suppose the real question is what Baskonia will show up for this game, because FS, we know the roster is good, but we also look at the record 11-11. It is what it is. They aren't playing like a side that's, up to the standard of its roster. If Baskonia are playing the way they have the last couple of weeks, this game could be quite messy. If they're playing the way they could be in a week and a half's time with a bit more health, I think they should have too much for FS. So we have the potential for this to either be a really good game with good basketball, or a really bad game that's still quite enjoyable to watch, is the best way to describe it.
Realistically speaking, Aris, do you see Baskonia find themselves out of the playoffs with the way they've been looking so far in the last couple of games?
They could, but I don't believe that Baskonia will not find the way, especially at home, to keep on its playoff position. Still, this is a game of musical chairs, and one will stay standing at the end of the 9 teams that are currently fighting for 8 positions. This is a crucial game. This is a crucial game because Anadolu Efes is clearly on the rise, and in order to prove this, they have to get a win against a team that has the same ambitions and the same goals. And Baskonia is one of those teams, and it's a good chance for Anadolu Efes to really bounce back, especially if you consider that on the same day, Darüşşafaka may lose some ground against Real Madrid. So the stakes are really high. The stakes are really high, and the urgency, I believe, it's bigger for. It's much bigger for Anadolu Efes, and we don't really. We have forgotten already about the fact that Perasovic has built the miracle team of Baskonia last season. So the fact that he's now on the opponent's bench and knows pretty well some of the key players like Adam Hangab may play a role into this. And the fact that Baskonia had so many injuries and so many changes in the roster stripped them of some of their consistency. Voigtman is great, Larkin is great, even Bargnan is great at offense, and they have Hanga to do everything else, every dirt job. What they are missing is depth, and that's why missing a guy like Sengelia, who is not yet 100% back, or not having, let's say, a guy like Koser in the backcourt really hurts them, even though Jaka Blažić can play the same role that Koser did all those years. It will be a very interesting game. If I had to bet someone in EuroLeague games, I wouldn't pick this game for any kind of bet.
Well, you got quite a doozy coming up here as well for Šarūnas Jaškevičius, because Brose Bamberg, they are mathematically still in it because, well, everyone's mathematically still in it, but I think they can still make that run for the playoffs, and that's a big problem for Žalgiris, who travel there for this game, because they probably are in a healthy position. They are that one game up, and they're going against a Bamberg side, which we know has talent, we know is a tough place to go. And yeah, it's a huge test. Of course, Bamberg, the one thing going kind of in Žalgiris' favour is Bamberg aren't utterly strolling the Bundesliga this year. They only have lost one game in Bundesliga play, but there's a team with a better record than them, Ratio Farm Ulm, who are perfect this season. So Bamberg haven't got the fait accompli of getting a top seed in the playoffs, and that's definitely on their minds. But at the same time, you look at them, home arena, EuroLeague game against Žalgiris, huge test. So we're going to see, you know, a lot asked to Šarūnas Jaškevičius' charges in this one. Like, you know, I like Saras, he's a great coach. Like, his upside long-term for coaching top level is tremendous. Well, never mind long-term, medium-term. Like, the guy would probably be one of the more sought-after coaches this summer, along with Doncic. So, yeah, this one, I think is going to be pretty tasty. Žalgiris need the win. Bamberg will really want the win, and that's gonna be an interesting pairing as a result.
You know, what could we ask for more from this game? You know, let's start with Freak City. It's simply, you know, that they've got probably one of the greatest fan base in the EuroLeague. Well, first, obviously, you know, the number one ranked, I would say, is obviously Crvena Zvezda, but leaving the fan base alone, I think we're about to watch a game between two of the most well-coached teams in the competition. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away or disrespect by any means to any one of the other teams, but we really seen something from both Coach Trinchieri and Coach Jaškevičius. We've seen from these two great coaches an ability to make their teams be much better than what they should have been on paper, in a way. And for specifically that reason, you know, this is a game to watch, I think. Besides that, let's talk about Žalgiris. Right now they are 9 and 13, meaning they are lurking for every team who drops a game, whether it's Darüşşafaka or Anadolu or Baskonia. True, they have their chances of making it to the playoffs are not as high. But at the same time, these two teams, both Žalgiris and Bamberg, have definitely not given up the chances of going to the playoffs. And simply for that, both teams are lurking, so we're expecting a true game of, I don't want to say a brawl, but it is going to be remarkable. Won't you say, Aris?
I totally agree with you, and also on the coaches angle, because both Coach Trinchieri and Jaskevicius, as we have said before about the game with Olympiacos, have proven that they are two of the up-and-coming coaches in Europe. Especially Trinchieri has created a team that plays not only efficient but also very beautiful basketball. Bros Bamberg, sorry, they changed their name this season. They're really unlucky. They're really unlucky, because if in some occasions they have closed the games better, now they will be playoff contenders. They are probably the team that lost the most close games this season in the EuroLeague. So I believe that they will have the way to prevail over Žalgiris. Žalgiris had an amazing 3-game stretch during which they beat even CSKA Moscow, and that really boosted them. But Bros Bamberg is a much more consistent team, no matter the results. If you see the way they're playing and their numbers, they are really consistent. Žalgiris had a peak, and I don't know if they can keep up on the same pace. Of course they are improved, of course they are better, but I'm not really sure that they can be considered an opponent on equal ground in a road game against Bros Bamberg. Having said that, it will be very interesting to see how Žalgiris will react, especially after trying to get a road win against Olympiacos. This can be a chance for Žalgiris, but I believe that the Germans are the favorites.
Oh, hello, Belgrade. Hi, it's me again. Yeah, the curse thing. Well, I say it's broken, so we're assuming it's broken. You're playing Galatasaray at home. It's a game you need to win. You're just a better basketball team. So yeah, you win. That's it for me.
So first, Emmett, I gotta ask a question. Did you just make a chip trick reference?
Yeah, I might actually have, Moshe, although I must admit it wasn't intentional. But yeah, I see where you're going there. Nice.
Yeah, well, it happens to the best of us. Good thing that it happens with Zvezda. This is a game to watch. We're talking Galatasaray that have become, I would say, one of the dark horses of the competition, hands down. And they've just proven this to us with Barcelona. They went in for the kill. They had a team with slim playoff chances, but still, they had them in their sights. They went for the kill. They got it. Now, Zvezda, obviously, I'm expecting them to recover from the 2 games losing streak. And why is that? First, I don't think that we all agreed last week that this is a game for them not to worry about. No one expecting them to win, and that is not because they're not good. Simply, everything was stacked pretty much against them, and obviously, CSKA is a better team if we're honest about it. But the loss they had 2 weeks ago, I'm guessing that was not something they kind of planned. They met their rivals. Obviously, we said at Anadolu we had a better matchup. But right now, this is their time to bounce back. I would simply go with Zvezda, hoping that this time we wouldn't have to apologize next week. Aris, how do you see this game?
Well, this is a pretty interesting game, but there's a clear difference in motive. Černa Zvezda at home against Galatasaray, which is pretty much eliminated from the playoffs, has to win this game. And they have also the ability against a team like Galatasaray to get the win. I believe that the bottom line here is pretty simple. Since the hosts have to win this game, they will also find the way to win it. They have the arsenal, they have the team, they have the fans, and Galatasaray had not won a road game for a year until last week. So I don't believe that it will be easy for the Lightning to strike twice.
Well, I think we all agree that this game's supposed to go with Zvezda, you know, the fans, the way they are playing. It all goes with them, I think. And I would say that that is pretty much for the Bar Mitzvah episode. Yes, we've unintentionally made a reference to, I would say, a great song, maybe a great band in the past, or maybe even now if you like them. But, you know, that is it for the 13th episode of Sweet 16, an open look on EuroLeague basketball. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, thanks for tuning in. Well, since this is the end of the show, Emmett, Aris, where can they find you guys?
Well, I gotta say goodbye to one special person in particular because I want to say hello to him. Mishko Rasnadovich, if you're watching, get here to Dublin. I want to bring you on a pub crawl. Simple rules. We go out, we get blathered, everything's on the record. It's that simple. Let's do it, baby. You come here, that's how you can find me. Come to Dublin, we'll go out on a beer. I'll show you some of my favorite pubs around the city, and it could be a lot of fun. And I think we'd have a pretty fun article on the backside of you and me just on the beer. So let's make it happen, Mishko. We need this to happen, baby. As for the rest of you, although I'm sure most of you can find me in Dublin if you really want to come for the beer. The rest of you, though, you can of course find me at on ballineurope.com, even at BIE_basketball on Twitter, and of course Facebook.com/ballineurope. Mishko, baby, get over here. Let's go on the beer in Dublin.
I can't add much after what Emmett did, so just try to reach me on my Twitter account, on Facebook, and also, of course, on EuroHoops.net.
And you can find me on EdMosesB1. I am Team Scout on Twitter, Facebook, and the website itself, obviously, teamscout.net. Well, Emmett, I think that is a great and decent proposal, and this is an interview I would simply love to watch, or at least read, and if possible to be present at the premises when it happens. Yeah, I think we're gonna have it's gonna be something to remember for sure. So guys, till next time.
Sweet 16, an open look on
EuroLeague basketball, covering 16 EuroLeague teams.
Gonna be sweet. Sweet 16.